This is the Clark Connection Podcast, your weekly dose of inspiration and power. We'll dive deep into the stories and strategies that ignite personal growth and entrepreneurial fire. Join us as we empower you to take control, level up your leadership, and build the life you deserve. Get ready to rise, to thrive, and to finally become the leader of your own destiny. Let's go. Welcome to the Clark Connection Podcast. It's great to be with you. I'm your host, Aaron Clark, aka The Coach. And on the show today, we're going to have Jim Jackson Jr., that of JC's Tech IT. We'll talk about the struggles of getting a business started, the importance of building relationships, and leadership. Then before we do that, I want to give a quick shout out to all my sponsors. First up, we've got Bobbie, with a Comfy Quest LLC, Andrew with Automate Integrate Professional Services, and Wayne with 7K Metals. And look, all of their information is listed below in the description. Go click on it. Tell them Coach Clark sent you. They also, if you're wanting to connect with me, you can reach me on all social medias at Coach_A_Clark, or via my website at www.coachaclark.com. And look, I'll get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. And I want to go ahead and give you a quick preview of what to expect with Jim Jackson Jr. And look, he is the owner of JC's Tech IT, started in 2010. So he's been doing it for 14 years at this point. Graduated from Southern University in Engineering and Electronics. Was summa cum laude of his class. And then he started his first business at the age of 15. And another cool stat that I left off as we were talking, he's been married now for over 10 years. And so that's excellent leadership right there, being able to lead your family along with building a business all together. And so let's go ahead and bring on Jim. All right. And Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Man, pleasure's all mine. Excited to get going. I mean, we've been catching up, chit-chatting back and forth. And so tell us a little bit more. What is JC's Tech IT?
Well, JC's Tech IT is a relationship-based IT support company that provide your day-to-day support services for your devices. Also, the main thing is we make sure your digital landscape is protected. We also, one of our services that we really hone on in now is security, cyber and in-office security from your network closet to your device. We just want to make sure that you're protected and your devices and your infrastructure is protected properly. Cybersecurity is a big thing today, so we hone in on relationship and security.
And so when you tell people digital landscape, what exactly do you mean as far as digital landscape?
Well, by us being in a digital age right now, everything is done on the computer. I mean, down to communication, down to day-to-day operations, all of that is done on a computer or a device. And a lot of things people don't think about taking care of those, that digital, because it's out of sight, out of mind, or there's no one there to tell them stuff like that. So, you don't know what you're not informed of. And so what we try to do is inform our clients and let them know, hey, this is something you really need to think about. It's part of their responsibility to make sure that their infrastructure is tight and secure, along with while they're on the web, it's also secure. So that's the reason why we come from that aspect.
Absolutely. And I love that quote. I always tell people all the time, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
And so how did you get in? I mean, I'd mentioned that in your stats before, you were in Southern for electronics and engineering, or engineering and electronics. And so how was it that you came about getting your business started?
Well, one of the things, and I tell this funny story, was, as a college student, back when the dollar menu was the thing to get, I used to
Like back
fix
when it was a
all of
dollar.
my, yeah, when it was taking a dollar. You know, I used to fix a lot of my colleagues' computers in school for free. It was fun, you know. And one day I was like, man, I need some gas, you know. And a friend of mine needed their computer fixed, and I went to his house to fix it. And when I told him, I said, hey, man, look, I just need you to fill up my car. Back when it only took $30 to fill up a car, he was like, man, you gonna charge me? You've always done this for free. And so, not to be long and drawn out, but that incident right there, I said I would never fix another computer again. And so I knew I needed to do it professionally because I wasn't going to do it halfway. I didn't want to be just a computer guy. I wanted to be a computer company. And so I started my business, but I've always loved tech. It's something that I've done since I was a kid. I've always knew what I wanted to do, and so it's not something that I stumbled upon. When I got my first computer, I literally took it apart and put it back together before pressing the power button.
I'm just like, oh no, warranty's broken.
Yeah, that's yeah. Warranty was broken the moment it got to me, but I was the warranty. Let's say that.
Absolutely. No, that's cool. And knowing, and I love and I hate to laugh at your story on that as far as, man, I need some gas money. I got over here to fix your computer. I just need gas money to get home. And them getting
Yes,
mad.
yes,
But how
yeah,
often does
yeah.
that happen to too many entrepreneurs? They start off doing whatever for free, and then people finally get mad that, "Man, Jim's charging me to do what he's been doing for free."
Yeah, well, one of the hardest lessons that I learned in business, honestly, is that your your friends a lot of times just because of what you've been doing don't start something that you're not willing to continue. And so what I started doing to alleviate that is I started reaching out to different people, and kind of veered away from fixing things for free. And I just told them in the forefront, hey, look, I'm doing this professionally now. This is what I want to do, and so I would love for you to support me and actually pay me for it. And I would say, a good bit of my friends actually was proud and supported me. And I have a real good friend since the eighth grade. When he first came to me for, he needed some computer service, he said, man, charge me like you don't know me. And I was like, you sure? You know how much this stuff costs, right?
I was going
you
to say,
know,
and that'll be $1 million.
right, right. And so, it's one of those things, man, that just, it's your circle that you surround yourself with. And, you know, I have some good people in my life that has always supported me in what I wanted to do. And so for me, the shift wasn't so hard because they wanted to support, and say that, hey, I was a part of it, and which was great. And so that's what kind of helped me. But I did have people who just didn't want to pay, and so I just declined when they asked. That was the hard part. Learning to say no is something that's very, very, very big. And there's a season when you have to say no to certain people in order to grow.
Mm, absolutely. And you said something very key that for those of you listening, I think was important, was the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people. I mean, that's
Mhm.
just so important. The group that you are associated with, and whether you can tell this to your kids or whoever, it's so important to make sure that you're connected and around the right people, because people are going to
Mhm.
associate you with that. Man,
Correct.
powerful,
Correct.
powerful. And so they got started. That tell it what was the biggest struggle? They, as far as you got started, obviously, I'm guessing that was getting people to pay was the first big struggle. But what would you say was the next struggle of getting going?
Oh man, knowing what to do next. That was the biggest thing. And one of the biggest things that I had to learn was developing a network of people and getting myself in the right rooms and the right spaces to put myself in the forefront. And that was the thing, like spending my time wisely and making sure that I was in the right places, in the right spaces to grow my business. And really, the hardest thing I would say was for me to do was getting clientele. That was the hardest thing, because here in down south we have a culture. It's about who you know, and I mean, I will use Facebook, LinkedIn, and different things to set up meetings with people, and just not just in my industry. And I'll just say, man, how did you get to where you are? Like, what did you do? Is there a secret sauce that I just don't know about? Like, tell me, I'll buy it. I'll trust me. I want success that bad. Just tell me, and I'll buy it. And they was like, man, my network, my network. And so it didn't have to get pounded in my head a lot for me to realize that you have to build your network. And I had a guy tell me one day, he said, your network discovers your net worth has a lot to do with your network. And I was like, wow, that's very important because, I grew up hearing it's not always what you know, but who you know. And I was like, that's a network. So if I consistently surround myself with the right people and put myself in the right spaces and study and perfect my craft, I can get clientele. And so that was the hardest thing I would say is getting in front of the right people.
And so what were things that you did to grow that network?
Oh man, whatever I needed to do in the moment. I paid for different conferences. I went to networking events, and I took a chance on myself. I took off from work, and then I was blessed to have a schedule where I had 2 days off consistently each week to work on my business. But we all know that even though you have 2 days off, you still have to commit the days that you do work. You still have to commit time to your business. And so, but those 2 days gave me some leeway to just focus on the business. But I wasn't afraid to take off. I wasn't afraid to say, hey, I need to be in this space so that way I can grow my business.
Yeah, and so when you said you took a chance on yourself and started working on yourself, like what were you doing to start working on yourself?
Educating myself through reading. I made sure that I was reading business books. I was getting referred to business books, and that was during the time I discovered that me sitting down reading a book was not happening. So I discovered audio, which was the best thing since sliced bread. So I started listening to a lot of audio. I started listening to a lot of motivational speakers. I started getting to a lot of audio books. And one of the biggest things to me was Rich Dad Poor Dad, which really got me on a mindset of business minded and really honing in on growing myself and leadership books and things like that. That really, really helped me with just redefining. After I read that book, it really helped me just kind of hone in on exactly what I wanted to do with myself before I could do anything for a company.
Yeah, I was saying I went ahead and put that up on the screen for those of y'all watching on YouTube or Spotify. Um, and man, I will say that was a very eye-opening book that to read, that Rich Dad Poor Dad. And so I'm kind of curious, did you kind of have the same reaction I did as he started listing what actual assets were and like, hey, your house isn't an asset? Like,
Yeah.
what you mean your house ain't an asset?
Right, right. And man, when I was reading that and I was learning all that, because growing up, you hear you want to own everything. You want to make sure you own this, and realizing in that book, another thing I learned as a car is a liability. The
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you drive it off the lot, it loses half its value. And I'm like, wait, what? Why does that matter? I'm paying my note. Like, no, everything you get should be an asset, and you grow your assets. And once you grow your assets, you will really learn how to manage your finances. And so that book taught me a lot from the groundwork of who I am today.
Yeah, it very good book. If y'all hadn't read it, I recommend it. And I know that was one we'd talked about that you said you recommend to everybody as well. Um,
Hmm.
phenomenal book. Phenomenal book. And so I know you'd mentioned to me that you had a couple of other ventures. You started your first business at 15. So what was it
Yeah.
that you had done at 15?
I had a lawn care company, and the reason why that started because I was raised by a single mother who worked three jobs to raise me by herself, and of course she surrounded me with positive influences and made sure I had that. That was one of the things I look back on. It's like my mother did a really good job with surrounding me with positive people. And so what it did was I didn't want to ask her for anything because I understood that working three jobs wasn't easy. And so I started a lawn care company that I did at 15 years old, cutting yards in the neighborhood. And so I cut about 8 or 9 yards every weekend. And I was, that way for the little things I wanted to do just on the weekends that I would have the money to do it. And so that's what started that, just because I didn't want to be a liability to my mother, financially. She still worked hard and did everything she could to provide me with the, what she can do. And she did an amazing job. Look at me today. But I just didn't want to have to ask her for a whole lot. And so I started that lawn care company, and me and a friend of mine, we used to go through the neighborhood on every Friday evening or Saturday morning and cut all 8 or 9 yards. And, and that's how we gained our money on the weekend to do what we wanted to do.
No, and that's cool. That I love that. My son's wanting to do the same thing, and so I'm like, well, you got to get out and start hustling, man. And
Yeah.
you want to buy,
Yeah. And the way we
go
did it, we
hustle.
just went knocked on doors. Hey, can I cut your yard? Well, how much you charge? You know, um, of course, now I know we was highly underpriced. So, but it was a lot to us. We were cutting yards for $15 and $20 a yard. And I was like, I was like, no wonder they jumped on that every weekend. You can consistently come. It's only $20.
Yeah,
But yeah, so yeah, but we just went knocking on doors and offering and asking, and we just, a lot of our yards we got, like we'll be cutting someone's yard and the neighbor will see us cut, and ask us to come cut theirs. That's pretty much how we got it.
yeah, and that's so great. I mean, the lesson you learn from that, as far as like, hey, this is the value of a dollar. This is how you go and work and earn and grind. Man, that it's so
Yeah,
valuable, and I'm sure it
yeah.
works
And then the
even
other
today.
lesson was I have a family of entrepreneurs. I mean, from my grandfather all the way down was business owners, and so growing up I got a chance to see business owners, and majority of my family has become very successful in their business endeavors, and I've seen them fail at some businesses, and I've seen them succeed. And so seeing that growing up, I developed the foundation that, hey, you will fail, but keep trying.
Yeah, and so I know when we were talking earlier, you'd mentioned there was another business that you'd had that wasn't as successful as JC's is. Um,
Oh, no, no, no. So, yeah, I tried to open up a car audio company. Me and a friend of mine, we enjoyed messing with audio, and he was really good at it. And so I'm like, oh man, let's start a business doing this. And he was like, yeah, yeah, we could do that. And I don't think we both really knew what we were getting into. I was just always driven to do something and put something on the map, and so I wanted to do it, but structurally, and then he was in a process of moving and transitioning as well, and so we just had to. It just didn't get off the ground like it was supposed to, and my car became the project for everything we wanted to do. So it was one time where I wanted certain things done in my car, and he was like my car was took apart. Like, you remember the cartoon Inspector Gadget? He
yeah,
literally took the car apart like Inspector Gadget to run one audio wire. It was so fun. I was like, man, see, we could do this as a business. But just it didn't happen. It was just, one of those things that is obviously just wasn't for me. And it wasn't for him. And so we just kind of let it go. And, I just moved on to the next thing.
Yeah. And, and like you said, you learned a lot through it. And,
Hmm.
and so, I mean, when the next opportunity came up, it makes it so much easier. People think it's all just, oh man, look at how Jim's got it awesome. He runs his own business. And it's
Hmm.
not the, hey, Jim grinded from the time he was 15. They then had this other failed business, and then finally they hit it with JC's Tech. And like you were saying, it took going through those growing pains of how do I get paying customers, and how do I continue to go and learn and make myself better by continuing to invest in myself. Man,
Right.
just an awesome story.
Yeah, man. It's something that, there's times I remember because I started this business in my mother's corner of her guest bedroom, is where JC's Tech started. And when I tell you that I always remember that moment each and every time I cross a milestone, I always refer back to that moment, and I was like, wow, this is where it started and this is where it's at. And so I constantly, continue to be like, man, now I see where the grind. I'm able to see it. I'm able to remember it, and it keeps me going. It really, really does.
Right. And so I mean I think that kind of brings, I've never thought about this being in a third generation that business myself, as I wonder how you go about getting and teaching that, to remember that hey, this is where I started. Like, how do you go about getting that to the next generation?
Hmm. One of the things that I do is, God blessed me with three girls, and so one of the things I do is I let them see what I'm doing. I also tell them what I did. And, my oldest right now is 11, going on 18. And, she's a spitting image of me. She's a leader naturally. And so there's times where I have to pull her back and say, hey, look, that's not the right time. But one of the things I do is I sit them down now and talk to them and let them see what I'm doing. And then some of the things as I'm doing it, I'm explaining it to them. They come to my office and they see me working and things like that. They've came on job sites, like if my wife have to drop something off to me, they come on job site and they see me working. And so that's one of the things that I did because it was done for me. One of the things that we have to do for our kids is give them what we had. And so one of the things I had is I went on job sites with my mom. I went with my uncle. I went with my father. Like I literally went with uncles and other people who mentored me coming up. I went on job sites with them and I saw how hard they worked. They explained to me what they were doing. So I got an opportunity not only to hear it but to see it, because one of the biggest things that I've learned is by being a parent and just kind of growing. Uh, a child really resonates what they see you do more than what they hear you say, and so I try to be an example that my kids can look at. And so I want my actions is what if I say something to them, I want my actions to show what I say. And because I also don't live by the motto, do as I say and not as I do, I live by the motto, do as I say and you watch me do. And so that's one of the biggest things that I try my best to do is be an example for my children and be someone that they can say, well, I saw my dad do it and I saw how hard he put in work. So no, I know that I'm going to do a little struggle, but I have to persevere.
Yeah. And that's what one that I was kind of thinking as you were going, and being able to listen. I mean, I wasn't there when my grandfather started our businesses, uh, but just being able to listen and get both sides, like his side of the story, my grandmother's side of the story, and just hearing how those first days were rough, and the struggle, and I wasn't sure we were going to make it. I think he said it was close to 8 years before he was like, yeah, I started turning a profit. um,
Most definitely, man. And that's the one of the biggest things, man. And I hear quotes all the time. If you're not willing to invest at least 5 years, or you're not willing to grind for at least 5 years, and so what that tells you is this: it's going to be 5 years at least before you even really have the business put together. For most of the time that I've had my business, I started being solely here in 2019. I've had the privilege to be around some world-renowned leaders, and so when I was allowed to step into my business full time, which was it wasn't the way that I had wanted it to be or prayed that it would be, but it was a prayer that was answered. And man, that's one of the biggest things that I prayed for it consistently. Like, God, give me the ability to work at my business daily. Give me the ability for my business to bring in, X amount of dollars so that I could take care of my family over and abundantly, and I can do for others. And so my prayer was that. And it didn't happen the way I thought. And so it was one of those, to tell you a little snippet of how it happened.
mhm.
My wife was fired 1 month apart from me. We were both fired from the same organization within a 2 month span, because of various reasons. And I, for some reason, did not have a worry. I don't know, I didn't worry. I wasn't scared. I wasn't nervous. Um, I remember sitting in my meeting where they was doing all the closure stuff and everything, and my phone was ringing, and I couldn't answer it because I wanted to respect the people that was in front of me. They were my supervisors, and I wanted to, respect them. And the biggest thing is, I kind of felt I was about to get laid off just because of how things were going, and my wife had been previously laid off a couple months, well, really a month before that. And the craziest thing of all was I couldn't answer the phone in there. So when I left, my phone rang again, and I was walking out of the meeting, and a person called me, and he was a guy that I was partnering with, from a referral-based business between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. And he said, "Hey man, look, that proposal you submitted, they accepted it, and it was for a restaurant." And we were going to be doing IT for a restaurant. And I said, "Oh, cool. Yes, that's good." He said, "Yeah." So, and I was like, "Okay, cool, cool, cool." I said, "Well, let me get home, get everything prepared. Da, 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 da. I can't be there on Monday." He said, "No problem. I don't need you there till Tuesday because I got to do this." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "Well, look, just want to let you know, on top of doing this one, they have 8 other restaurants they want us to do." And I was like, "What?" you know? And so it was one of those moments where they say God would take the foolish things of the world and make it good. And it
Hmm.
was one of those times where I constantly remember that moment every day. Man, it was just it's in the words of Steve Harvey, it's called a look back moment. You know, my wife was pregnant with our third child during the time. And so being the man of the house, of course I was worried about how can I provide for my family, but it's just like one of those things that God answered it immediately. He said, "I had to release you from this so I can give you what I have for you." And so my experiences, at my previous employer and the one before that, which was, I learned so much. I had the opportunity, that's where I had the opportunity to be around some of the most astounding leaders of not only the city, but the world. And the things that I learned from them, the snippets, the questions, and, just being able to listen to them sometime was just amazing. And I was able to take that and just develop it. And, it was just such a blessing to be in the room with those people that helped me become the leader I am, because that's one of the biggest things, that to be a successful business, not just success doesn't not only waver by finance, but it waver by the people that work for you and how happy they are when they work for you. So you can tell, money doesn't resolve everything, because there are so many people in this world who make a lot of money, but who are very depressed and not happy. And so that's one of the things that is one of my goals, is to build a company where people enjoy what they do, and when they come to work, they are enjoying what they do, and we just want to create an environment of motivation and an environment of growth and success.
Yeah, and that's so true. They had that what happened with the previous full time job, not that you got let go. That I mean, you wouldn't have been able to go and do what you needed to do with those restaurants. And then
Yeah.
that it reminded me, as you were saying, as you're going and growing a business. I loved the quote you gave me earlier. I couldn't find who said it, so I'm attributing it to you. That would say, you have to be a leader to start and grow a company. So,
Yes,
so you're
and
getting
and I
credit for that one.
leadership. Yeah, man. I mean, you have to, and you definitely have to be a leader because you're going to have people's lives in your hands if you're starting a company, and so you can't take that lightly. And their livelihood is based on how well you work and manage them to continually encourage them to do what they need to do. And I continue to grow my leadership skills. One of the two books I'm reading right now is Curtis Jackson, Work Harder, Work Smarter, and the other one is by a great friend of mine, Evante Showers, The Sound of Leadership. And those are the two things, and I'm actually rereading The Sound of Leadership right now. And it was, one of the reasons I'm reading it because there's certain times where you get different resolutions when you read it the first time from when you read it the second time. And so it's one of those good books. It ended up being number one on Amazon bestsellers list. And so I was like, you know what? Let me go back and reread this. Maybe there was something I just didn't hone in on. Reading Curtis Jackson, Work Harder, Work Smarter is something that I was like, I'm almost done with it, but it'll probably be a book that I'll reread later down the line because the strongest muscle we have is our brain. And so continuously to work smarter, just because you're physically, it don't always mean you're working hard by working physically, you know.
Right.
And so that's what I try to do now is work harder, work smarter.
Yeah. And I had the work harder, not smarter. Or, sorry, hustle harder, hustle smarter. Not. Oh man. Oh
Okay, man.
geez. They take that out of this one. Let's edit, cut. But I'd put that one in there. I've always enjoyed like 50. I've just really enjoyed him. And kind of curious, though, tell me a little bit more about The Sound of Leadership. That I'd never heard of that one until you'd mentioned it to me the other day. So what would one expect while reading through that?
One of the things you're going to get is one of the cool things about the sound of leadership is he compared it to a symphony, and he
Mm,
explained leadership in a way of a beat. And I was like, this is so cool. But I mean, he has so many nuggets in there, and he has so many things. He's a very successful business owner. He's a pastor. He's a business owner. He's a philanthropist. He's a father. He's a coach. I mean, he has so many asterisks with his name that when you hear those things that someone wrote a book, one of the biggest things is there's so many secrets in the books. So we have to, one of the most important things is the sound of leadership is one of those gems that I think is a must read because it helps you prepare and it helps you be a leader, and it also helps you learn how to influence and help people grow into what they really that they can, the best that they can be.
no, that's all. And I've heard somebody else mention that. I was trying to remember how it said they said basically leadership. You go from playing in the symphony to conducting the symphony. So
Hmm.
that was a
Yes,
great. That
yes.
was a great. I really like that. I'm about to probably they go buy that one as soon as I get off of here with you.
Oh yeah,
To go read
yeah.
through.
If you want, I can get you a signed copy if you want it. I can get you a signed
Oh,
copy. I might can work that one out.
I was about to say even better. So
Yeah, I could probably get you a signed copy. Yeah, yeah. I think I know the author. I think I do. He
Uh,
maybe trading around this earth somewhere.
nice. No, I'm gonna hold you to it. So I know
Okay.
where you at.
Okay.
And so, yeah,
Hey, you can Google it.
yeah, I'll say, look, leaders are learners. Leaders are learners.
Yes.
I'll never forget. I was actually talking to one of. Had the privilege of coaching him and then coaching with him. But one of the first coaches that I ever worked under in football, he would go through and say that every day. Look, you're doing one of two things. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. If you stay the same, you got worse. And our goal is to get better every single day. And
Yes.
so as a
Yes.
leader, that's our job. Our job is to get better. I had one of my team.
Exactly, man. Exactly. You're so right about that. And that's one of the things that I learned, that you have to constantly, because why will people follow you if you're not growing? You know,
Mm-hmm.
growth automatically attracts. And
Yep.
so as a leader, you must remain attractive. And growth and being able to impact in well, I would say impact people's lives is one of the biggest things. And being able to be, I mean, to be a husband, you got to be a leader,
Mm-hmm.
because the Bible speaks about that. When a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing, and your wife leans to you for guidance. And so, for those things, protection and all those things, that's traits of a leader. And we decide who we're going to be as leaders. Are you going to be a strong leader, or are you going to be a weak leader? And so, you're going to be a weak leader, you consider a terrible leader. Strong leaders continuously advance their skills, and then which will advance the people that follow them.
Yes. Yes. And so as we're starting to wind it down, that one question that I like to ask everybody, and that's always a loaded question, that is, what's something I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
Wow. You've asked so many questions that it's not many that I've thought about what you should have asked. Well, how do we provide our services? One of
Yes.
the most, you know, what sets us apart? It will be the question, because that's the one question that is very vital in every business. There has to be something that sets you apart from your competition. And so that would be one question. And the way I would answer that question, if you was to ask it, is this: first and foremost, we are a relationship-based IT company. One of the things I learned as I was growing this business is that in this industry, that we're not really known to be relatable. We're known to only sit behind a computer. We only known to know you through a phone or a computer screen. And so one of the things that I wanted to do that set me apart is I wanted to build a relationship with each and every customer. And that's near and dear to my heart, because I love people. I love helping people. And so I wanted to be a resource, and I love technology. And so I'll say, well, let me help them by way of technology. And I made that the foundation of this company, that we are a relations based IT support company. And one of the things that I enjoy doing is talking to the business owners and the CEOs that we serve. Like, that's the part that I love the most. Nothing always have to be wrong, something wrong. I make it a point to try to talk to them every time. When I see them, I laugh, I joke with them. That way, with building a relationship with someone, they get to know who you are as a person, because hey, we're human. We all fall short every day. And so there may be things that I don't do at the best. I may not be at my best. But if you know me and you have a relationship with me, you'll know me. And so that's what I would say that sets me apart, is I build relationships with my clients, and that's how I provide my service. And that's how we make sure that it's still done professionally and right, but with relation and care.
Absolutely. And so, Jim, how does anybody listening, how do they get in touch with you, with JC's Tech IT?
Oh, you can find our JC's page on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can Google JC's Tech IT. I will encourage you to join our Facebook community. We always putting tips, and there from time to time I go live. Instagram. Those are the ways they get in touch. Or you can dial our number 225-289-3499, or you can email me Jim at jcstechitmsp.com. And
Yeah.
that's one of our main slogan is, stay cool and let the geeks handle it. because 9 times out of 10, the calls that we get when somebody then plugged or pressed or pressed the wrong button or pulled the wrong cord, they're franticing. Just stay cool, let the geek handle it.
Yeah, no, I loved it. When I saw it, I was like, I gotta steal that to put on the show. Um, and so, guys, that is up on the screen if you're watching. I'm also going to list all of that in the description below to be able to get in touch with Jim and his crew, JC's Tech IT. Jim, it was wonderful having you on. We'll definitely have to do this again.
Same here, man. Thank you so much, man. I'm glad that, and I couldn't leave without mentioning Tyler Harris. I mean, Tyler was the one who kind of orchestrated this whole thing, so he has to be mentioned on here, man. He's doing a wonderful job here, and and when he go back and watch this, I think it'll make him feel good. I mean, man, just him introducing and you guys taking the time to talk, and really what you brought about this opportunity for us to connect.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Tyler, for that. And we'll definitely be doing this again.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
What a great episode. Look, we covered so many great things in our conversation with Jim, but I got a few key takeaways that I want to be able to give with you guys. And so I'm going to pull that up on the screen for you, as for those of you that are watching. And so the one that I thought was really important was how important it is for building a network for your business to grow. And then we talked about, how important it is to invest in personal development through reading and audio resources. It's so important to continue working on yourself and helping yourself to grow. And we also talked about how leadership is crucial for managing a successful company. And then we talked about how creating a positive work environment that enhances employee satisfaction. And so look, if you're looking for leadership or personal growth training, it could be for you, it could be your business, it could be for an event that you're putting on. Reach out to me. I'd love to be able to help you and to help your team on your journey and to inspire you as you continue to grow. And look, all of my contact information is listed below, but I'm also, if you're watching, it's up on the screen. You can find me on all socials at coach_A_Clark, or via my website at www.coachaclark.com. And if you found this information helpful, make sure you give it a like, a subscribe, and a follow. And help give me some important feedback that helps me along to continue giving you great content. And so in the meantime, guys, make sure that you keep leading, keep growing, and keep innovating. Until next time, stay inspired and stay connected, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Clark Connection Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Clark Connection Podcast, where my goal is to add value to you. Make sure you like and follow the show. You can also connect with me via my website, coachaclark.com, or on all socials at coach_A_Clark. The links are in the description. Huge thanks to my sponsors, Wayne with 7K Metal Associates, Bobbie at A Comfy Quest LLC, and Andrew at Automate Integrate Professional Services. We look forward to bringing you more great content. See you next week.